Okay, so today we are talking about parabolas, all kinds of other functions, and finding the slope of them. So again, if I asked you, what's the slope of this curving parabola here, made of tennis balls, do you get I could just pick a point here and pick a point there and say, well, the slope in that area would be like really steep, right? But if I pick a different spot and pick a spot here and here, I could say, well, the slope isn't that steep. And if I wanted to, I could pick a spot here and here and say, that slope is really steep and negative. So it really kind of depends on where you pick. Well, there's a formula for finding slope when it's like that. And we already went over that. I do need to review a few types of equations with you. And there's standard form, slope, intercept, and point slope. Let me give you some examples. You've seen these before. 3x squared plus 2x plus 5 equals 0. Do you know what form that's in? That's standard. And that's got the a and the b and the c just sitting right out there. It's handy because, do you get if I want to solve this, I could use x equals negative b plus or minus squared root b squared minus 4 is all over 2a. And you need a, b, and c to be able to use that formula, right? Okay, so that's handy for that. And it also, a lot of people like it because, do you remember that the x-intercept is where y is 0? Do you get this is where y would normally be, but it's already been set to 0? And that means that I have set my y equal to 0, which means I'm going to find my x-intercepts with this thing. That's what this is good for, is it'll tell me my x-intercepts. If I could factor it. If I can't factor it, then it's harder to find those x-intercepts, but I can still use the quadratic formula to find them. All right, so if you can factor it, you should. This one won't factor. So if you can't factor it, then you could use the quadratic formula and you would find the x-intercepts. Also, finish this statement for me. The y-intercept is where what? X equals 0. Do you get if I throw in an x equals 0 here and here, the y, I'm going to make this back into a y. Y equals 5 would be the what? If I set x equal to 0, I'm finding the what? The y-intercept. Okay, so the y-intercept would be y equals 5. So this standard form is good for two things. Number one, it's got the y-intercept, which is where x is 0, sitting right there. Kind of handy to be able to just know, oh, the y-intercept for sure is 5, instead of having to compute it. And it's also got a, b, and c sitting out here for you. All right, next form that we want to talk about is called vertex form. A lot of people don't know this. Here's a parabola, and it's in vertex form, and so the vertex is just right there. They think, okay, well, you could multiply it all the way out. Yeah, you could multiply it all the way out and get standard form again, but that's not the question. What's this form good for? I know the vertex. Why is the vertex so handy? Because if you're solving a real-world problem, guess what? A lot of times the answer is, how high did it go? The highest part. There's only one spot like that on the whole parabola. Every other spot is just kind of a spot along the way. There's only one spot where it makes the turn. And that spot would be, in this case, from this equation, it would not look like this. I can tell what this vertex is by just looking at that. Who can tell me what the answer is? Negative 5, good, comma, 3. Do you remember that? It's the opposite of this one, because you don't trust the stuff on the inside. Okay? Negative 5, comma, 3 is your vertex. So here's where negative 5 would be, comma, 3. That spot's the vertex. And now you can tell just by looking at it whether this is a U shape or a mountain shape. They always start off as a U shape, and then has it been flipped or not? Has it been flipped? No. So therefore, it's still a U shape. So my parabola would look like this, and that is the lowest spot. Like if this was a submarine, that's the lowest it went in its dive. Okay, so this, what's this good for? Well, it's not good for telling me my y-intercept, because I have to stick in x equals 0 and compute it. I could figure it out, but it's not good for y-intercept. Is it good for x-intercept? The x-intercept is where y equals 0. No, it's not good for finding the x-intercepts or the y-intercepts, but it's good to find the vertex. So this form of the equation is called vertex form because it tells you the vertex super easily. Any questions about that? Okay, how about this form? Is it still an equation? Sure. It's even factored. It's in factored form. What's good about it? It tells me the what's. The zeros, also known as the x-intercepts, also known as the solutions, also known as the roots. One that we don't use very often, but it's true. And the answers are x equals -3 and x equals 5. And those, again, are spots that are like this. -3, +5. And if I know this has no negative in front, it must be going like this. If I had a different form of it, it'd be nice to know what the vertex was, but I can't tell the vertex super easy from this. So I could figure it out, but... All right. And then last, we have this point slope form. We started the year with this kind of stuff. And let's say I have a slope of 3 there. And let's say I throw in the point 2, 5. Do you get this is telling me a point? And the point, again, you don't trust the stuff on the inside. The point is it 2, -5? It's just 2, 5. And I know that can be confusing. But this is a formula that we just stuck something in, and it looks like this. Do you get it has minuses in both parts of the formula in its normal form? So if I throw in a 5 right there, that implies that it was at the point +5 and +2. So 2, 5 is my point. My slope is that number right there. So that's what that's good for. It tells me the slope, tells me a point that's on it. I am told by the calculus teachers that they use this a lot, and that they use it actually a lot more than the old school this. That's what you did a ton of when you were in regular algebra. But you've grown past that one now, and it isn't as used as much. Still good to know. That's the slope. That's the what? Y-intercept. All right, good. Okay, so there's a big wide-ranging review of what quadratics are and stuff. If you wanted to find the slope of this line, don't overthink this. You just find the slope between those 2 points. I would do it with 4 minus 0 over 2 minus 0. You know what I did there? That minus that, and it's always the rise over the run, so it's the y's over the x's, and that minus that. Okay, you don't have to do it that way, actually. You can go backwards, because if both of them go backwards, then they'll both have the opposite signs, which will then work out. Either if it was supposed to come out positive, you'll have 2 negatives, they'll cancel. All right, so finding a slope, I'm hoping that that's pretty easy for you, but there's one more weird way to find a slope, and I want to get to that. And that is, it's actually not on today's, which is cool. It makes this easier. All right, so let's get to this part where it says assignment. This is what you need to do for tonight, and I'm hoping this has all been totally review and not too tough for you. It says find point slope. By the way, you might want to write this down. Oh, it's there actually, kind of. It's here. It's just written backwards from the way we normally have written it. That's point slope. And slope intercept, which is that one. And they want us to make both forms of the line. This is just like the top 20, isn't it? I think it is. Got a slope, got a point. Or if you had 2 points, it's actually harder because you'd have to first figure out the slope. But they already gave me the slope. So this is really easy. And I'm going to stick the stuff in there. And what's the slope? 3. What's the point? 3, -1. Notice the 3 goes here, and the -1 goes here. This will be y plus 1 equals 3 times x minus 3. That's a good form of an equation. You don't have to solve it for y unless they ask you to, which they did. They asked you to make it also in this form. This is one of your answers, which you then go on to solve for y, and it'll give you another form of an equation. But this is a good form. It's got a point, and it's got the slope. That's why we call it point slope. The other form will have one thing that the other one doesn't. It'll have the y-intercept in it. Okay, so basically just solve that for y and you've got it. Now this, obviously, we're in pre-calc here, not algebra, so we step it up a notch by making it a little more complicated and throwing in some square roots, but it's still the same basic concept. Don't worry, it's not going to become insanely difficult because there's square roots in it. All right, moving on to this part. Find the slope form of the line that goes through those 2 points. This is a complete review of one of your questions off the top 20. You got 2 points. You find that equation. So first of all, you'd find the slope. Once you find the slope, then you use this form of the equation, which I like to go backwards from that. So first find the slope, which again, I'm hoping is back to algebra, super easy, and you stick it there. And then you pick one of these 2 points. It doesn't matter which one. I'm going to pick 5, 0. I'm going to put the x as 5 and the y is 0 right here and here. Y stays as y, x stays as x. Common mistake is people think they have to fill in every y and x, but then all you'll have left is m. That is a way you can find the slope. If you want to stick in every x and every y, you can solve for m then. But I like to do the slope this way. -8 minus 0 over 0 minus 5, which is -8 over -5, which is 8/5. And there's my equation. All right, I don't think you need quite that many. We can skip number 15. Onto this page. If you're going to graph this and find its slope and x-intercept, I'm hoping this is ludicrously easy, but I think it wouldn't hurt to start with an easy one before you get to a weird one like this. And this isn't that strange, it's just you got to rearrange it a little bit to see what the slope is. I hope you don't think the slope is 3 on this problem. You may want to rearrange it so it just feels more normal. All right. It's good for you to think about what is the slope, etc., when you have a line like that. I hope you get that that's the same as saying y equals 3, and I hope you know which direction that line goes. Some people are not sure which way is y equals 3. Well, you find a spot where y is 3, right there. Now, can you tell if that's going to be a straight up and down line or a horizontal line? Horizontal. That's y equals 3. All right, this one, again, we need to stretch you a little bit. So you're going to have to rearrange that puppy a little bit. Maybe break it into 2 fractions. And then rearrange it even more, and then figure out what is the y-intercept and what is the slope on this one. All right. And last but not least, this page where we have how are we supposed to find all the points that are 4 units from that point? Well, maybe you should graph it and picture what it looks like. Once you make a little picture of it, figure out what they're asking. This is not a hard question. All right, and then this is a very good ACT practice question. Okay, this is just writing an equation for a situation, and that's a real good one. So I think that's enough for today, given how much time we have left in class. So you may skip these last 2 pages there. Okay, so you're going to end with this Carl can stuff envelopes question. Okay, I'm hoping you feel like that was a pretty easy day. And it's okay to have a nice, easy day every now and then. So, okay, that's all I got for you for today.